Jaguars, Chiefs, opening game at Everbank Stadium this Sunday at 1 o'clock. Guys, we have a big one. Let's get it. So this video is sponsored by BetUS. Guys, the Jaguars are 3.5-point underdogs this Sunday against the Chiefs. BetUS straight doesn't respect us, man. The Jaguars this season are 1-0 against the spread. And if you go back to the preseason, the Jaguars are 4-0 against the spread. So at the end of this video, I'm going to give you guys my picks for the Jaguars, both straight up and against the spread. If you guys want in on the fun, man, I have a link down below. It's going to 125% bonus your first deposit. So if you put down $100, you're going to see $225 show up in your account. A lot of fun over there. Really just a lot of different wagers that you can make. Big shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video and really allowing me to put out all this content on this channel for you guys this season. So with all that said, let's get into this video. Now, there is a lot to say about this game, and I know a lot of people were kind of saying in the comment section that, hey, can you bring in more like other YouTubers to kind of preview their side of things? So I went ahead and did it. I have a Chiefs YouTuber coming to join me on this channel. It is going to be Dan from Dan Talks Football. So I'm going to insert his part of his preview of the game, and then I'm going to get into my takes.
When UCF Jaguar asked me to make a short clip so he can put in this preview video for Chiefs Jags, how could I say no? Hi, my name's Daniel Andrews. I'm owner and creator of Dan Talks Football, and while my channel's designed to talk football 32 different fan bases, I've been a Chiefs season ticket holder since 1989. Now, UCF Jaguar asked me to talk about three different things here, starting with what happened between the Chiefs and the Lions. And let's keep this short and sweet here. Detroit came out, and Detroit's a damn good football team, and they played an A-plus game. They could not play any better. I think the Chiefs played a C-plus game. Now, keep in mind, Chris Jones didn't play. He's easily the Chiefs' best defensive player, and Travis Kelce didn't play. I did a video, top 10 tight ends of all time, and Travis Kelce's number one. I do think he's the greatest tight end who's ever lived. He got injured 2 days before the game, and I don't think the Chiefs really adjusted their game plan near enough. Now, give a lot of credit to Detroit, but if Kelce plays in that game, they probably win. Now, you may ask yourself what's different between the Chiefs this year and last year. What's really interesting is that you may know about the history between Doug Peterson and Andy Reid, but what you may not know is about Joe Cullen. Joe Cullen was the Jaguars defensive coordinator in the Urban Meyer era. I know you guys really want to forget about that, but he's had a great impact with the Chiefs defense over the last 2 years. He comes from Baltimore under Wink Martindale, where they run a very complex, multifaceted 3-4 defense, and it really seems like last year they implemented some 3-4 looks, and then during this offseason, it looks like the Chiefs are doing kind of a hybrid 4-3-3-4. One of the key things the Chiefs did this offseason is last year, the Chiefs going into the regular season had 4 linebackers. This year they have 6. And it really looks like against Detroit that you saw a lot of different 3-4-4-3 schemes. If the Chiefs hold teams to 21 points or less, they're going to win a lot of football games. And keep in mind, one of those touchdowns was a pick six that bounced directly off of Kadarius Toney's hands. So what's different about Kansas City is that defensively, the Chiefs may be better than they were last year. But without Travis Kelce, it really seemed like the Chiefs struggled and didn't have a good game plan 2 days, going into an injury. Now, what's different is that the Chiefs have some time to prepare for a situation without Travis Kelce. Now, what's the deal with Chris Jones and Travis Kelce? Chris Jones is healthy. Chris Jones is going to play. He's probably going to be a substitute player. He may not even start, but he will have an impact on this game. Travis Kelce, as I'm making this clip, is questionable. Now, the difference between this week and next week is that the Chiefs are going to be ready. The Chiefs are going to be prepared. I don't think week one they were, but my guess would be that Travis Kelce is going to play. This game all revolves around Travis Kelce. And the reason why I say that is because if Travis Kelce plays, I think the Chiefs will win. If Travis Kelce doesn't play, I think Jacksonville wins this game, but this is a must-win game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Going into this season, I really thought that the two best teams in the AFC were Kansas City and Jacksonville. And I circled this game because the winner of this game has a good chance to get home field advantage. Now, Kansas City can win this game, and Jacksonville could very easily still get home field advantage. But if Kansas City loses this game, there's no way that we're going to catch up to Jacksonville. No possible way. If Jacksonville wins this game, I can almost pencil them in as the number one seed in the AFC playoffs. They're that good of a team. So this is a must-win game for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to stick with my original prediction when I did my picks video. I believe that Travis Kelce is going to play, and just him being on the field might be enough. I also predict Chris Jones will play, but in a part-time role. My score prediction is going to be Kansas City 27, Jacksonville 23. But for the rest of the year, go Jags.
So huge shout out to Dan for coming on here and helping me preview kind of the Chiefs side of things. So now let's get into the Jaguars side, man. This is, as you guys all know, a huge game. And it's really for a number of different reasons. Number one is the obvious. It's the home opener. Anytime the Jaguars play their home opener, it is just really exciting because regular season football is back. The last time the Jaguars played meaningful football in Jacksonville was that Chargers game, which I don't have to tell you guys about. You guys all know the story behind that game, but it was extremely lit. And now the Jaguars are back, ready to really take vengeance on the NFL. Number two, you're playing the defending Super Bowl champions and the defending MVP of the league. So anytime that you're hosting the Super Bowl champs, it's fun game to be at. Number three, it's huge for AFC seeding. Look, if the expectation is to win the AFC South, the next thing we want to do is battle for seeding. And if the Jaguars were to defeat the Chiefs, you get a huge 2.5 game lead on the Chiefs in the AFC playoff hunt, which is crazy because every time that the Chiefs have been in the playoffs with Mahomes has been at home. He hasn't had to travel to play any playoff games. So, having that advantage would be absolutely critical for the Jaguars. And number four, it's personal. Look, the Jaguars played 5 different teams in the 2022 season twice. They wound up sweeping both the Titans and the Chargers. They split games with the Texans and Colts, going 1-1 in each of those against each of those teams. But the only team that the Jaguars got swept by was the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Jaguars really have not had a good recent history with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Jaguars haven't beat the Chiefs since 2009 when David Garrard was handing the ball off to Maurice Jones-Drew and throwing the ball to Mike Sims-Walker. So it's really been that long. The Jaguars in that span have been 0-7 against the Chiefs. 7 straight losses against the Chiefs, man. Something has to give. And, also Doug Peterson, when you look around at different coaches, you always say, this guy's from that tree. This guy's from that tree. Doug Peterson is straight from the Andy Reid tree. He learned a lot of his football from Andy Reid when it comes to how to coach. And unfortunately, the student is currently 0-3 against Andy Reid. So Doug Peterson may not say it publicly, but in his head that he really wants this game. So there's that aspect to it. Now, when you go over the injuries, the concerning thing right now is that the 2 biggest injury concerns for the Jaguars is, right guard Brandon Sheriff, who went down in, the Colts game, and also Luke Fortner, the Jaguars starting center, is also dealing with an ankle injury with Brandon Sheriff. So unfortunately, the interior offensive line, when you bring in Brandon Sheriff and center Luke Fortner, and even left guard Ben Barch, who's recovering from his injury suffered from last year, the interior of the offensive line is unfortunately pretty injured right now. And you have Chris Jones that's probably going to be coming back and playing on Sunday. So it's Jaguars offensive line is going to have their hands full. And one thing that we know is that they're going to have to play a lot better than how they played against last week against the Colts. Now, Travis Kelce will most likely return this game, which is obviously going to be tough. Anytime you're playing Travis Kelce, it's a tough matchup because really nobody is really able to stop this man. Now, when you look at this game defensively, it's going to be like when it comes to defensive game plans, I don't think there's going to be a bigger shift between the game plan one week versus the game plan the next week. Because last week, the game plan was stop the run, dare Anthony Richardson to throw. Now it's going to be, okay, let's stop Mahomes from passing the ball, and maybe we can get them to run the ball. Because, look, Anthony Richardson couldn't throw the ball more than 10 yards, and Patrick Mahomes wants to throw the ball over 20 yards every play if he could. So, yeah, that's going to be tough. And look, the wide receivers last week didn't play very well for the Kansas City Chiefs, but we can't sit here and say that's going to happen again. I mean, the Chiefs, if Tony's catching the balls and if Sky Moore is catching those balls, they very well beat the Detroit Lions. But, the wide receivers didn't do their thing, and they were getting open. Mahomes was throwing the ball in their hands. It just wasn't happening. But we know the wide receivers aren't too bad there. I mean, Tony, I really like Kadarius Toney. He's very elusive. But, of course, he has his drop issues, it seemed like last week. There's also Rashee Rice, who's very quick. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has always been in the league and, always been a pretty solid receiver, dependable receiver. And most of all, Travis Kelce will most likely be back, so he has his own, kind of issues. Now, I think the big thing of here is, look, can the Jaguars get pressure? Can Josh Allen go out there, have another really good performance? Can Trayvon Walker go in there, get another sack? Can we generate pressure on Patrick Mahomes? Because last year, when the Jaguars generated pressure in the playoffs, we were doing good. And then all of a sudden, the pressure went away, and then Mahomes kind of sliced us and diced us. So that's going to be the big thing. Can the Jaguars get pressure? That's a big key to be able to win this one. And I think this is going to be a big Devin Lloyd game. Look, last year, Devin Lloyd struggled, not only in the season, but especially against, the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, if there's anybody that can potentially neutralize Travis Kelce, it's Devin Lloyd. Look, he's physical, he's quick, and he can hopefully hang around him and, maybe kind of neutralize him in a way. I think really this will be a huge game and a big opportunity for Devin Lloyd. And I'm pretty high on Devin Lloyd this game. I mean, this video isn't sponsored by Underdog, but, every game I do put in different player pick'ems. And, I saw Devin Lloyd at 5.5 tackles. I went higher on that. I also think it's going to be a big Christian Kirk game. 37.5 receiving yards for him. I think higher on that one, and Patrick Mahomes 4 rushing attempts. If you guys do want to, put in some player pick'ems over at Underdog, you can use my promo code UCFJAG. That doubles your deposit. I put $5 down, just for fun. If it hits, I get $30. So, it'll be pretty cool. So like I said, big Devin Lloyd game, I think upcoming, just big opportunity for him. Offensively, now, I think the main thing with the offense is that the play calling just needs to be better. It needs to be more balanced. And, I think last game, it's like they tried to be balanced, but it was almost like, at the end of before they started a drive, they said, okay, our play sheet says that we've called, 15 passes and 12 runs. Okay, we're going to run the ball 3 times in a row so it evens up. And then it was just the offense was just so clunky last game, and it never got in a rhythm. And I think the main reason for that is because just the play calling wasn't smooth, and it wasn't balanced in the right way. So I think really this game, I think play calling just needs to be a lot better. Offensive line needs to be a lot better. I was really disappointed with the offensive line last game. I actually thought that the offensive line might be one of our strengths, and it flat out just wasn't good enough last week. And we know that they have some good players. I mean, Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Derek Nottie. They have a lot of good players on the defensive line, and they were getting a lot of pressure on Detroit last week. So we need to figure out a game plan to be able to, stop them. And look, I like ETN, run ETN, run take Bigsby. But I think the main thing here is let Trevor cook. That's my main thing. Look, if the Chiefs are struggling against a team Their game plan isn't, okay, let's hand it off to Isaiah Pacheco. Let's force feed Isaiah Pacheco. No, they give the ball in their best player's hands, which is Patrick Mahomes, and they wheel and deal. Same thing with Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Josh Allen and the Bills. When their team is down, 3 points in the fourth quarter, they're not force feeding their running back. You know what I mean? So that's my main thing is like, look, Trevor is big time on the ascension. Let him cook, man. Let him play. Let him get a good feel for it. Call plays to help him enable his abilities to be great. So, that's my main thing offensively. Now, some overall looks at this game, man. Will the humidity be a factor? I don't know. I mean, in 2013, the Jaguars played the Chiefs week 1 at home and they lost. In 2019, the Nick Foles game, they played the Chiefs week 1, they lost. We'll see how much of a factor like the humidity is. Of course, I think the Jaguars have a lot better teams than they did in 2013 and 2019, but that's one thing that a lot of people are saying. And look, I mentioned earlier the Jaguars have a losing streak against the Chiefs. However, Doug Peterson over the course of the last couple of years has been just breaking all these streaks. I mean, you look at it, there was an away game losing streak last year that the Jaguars broke against the Chargers. We had a 20-game NFC team losing streak. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. So between that Dallas Cowboys game and the New York Giants game in week 1 of 2018, they lost all the games in between there. Just think, Blake Bortles was a starting quarterback there. Trevor Lawrence is a starting quarterback there. Every quarterback combination, the Cody Kesslers, all that, the Gardner Minshew's, the Nick Foles, none of them could beat an NFC opponent. So that was a big one. The Jaguars hadn't won a national since 2013. The Jaguars broke that. The Jaguars hadn't swept the Titans since 2006. They got that done. Hadn't beat the Texans since 2017. They got that done. So yeah, like it's all about breaking streaks, and he's been able to break some ugly streaks, and hopefully, something happens here. Now, this is a huge game, man, and I really think with this game, it's going to establish our place in the NFL and the AFC. I made a video a couple days ago going through the power rankings, seeing where different experts and different national people see us. And we were around that, like, Pete Prisco had us at number 3, but that was an outlier. It was mostly like people at the very highest was like 7, and at the lowest was like 11. So they see us in that 7 to 11 range. So what is that? That means, you get into the wild card game, lose, or you're an early division round exit, that kind of thing. No one sees us as a top 4 team. So now is our time to say, look, we just beat the Chiefs. We are not just the best team in a bad division. We're not just going to get into the playoffs just because, the AFC South is bad and we're just like better than all the other teams. No, we are a legitimate threat to the NFL, and we can go out there and beat any team, and we have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So now to go into my game prediction. Look, the spread is at 3.5 points this game. I think that the Jaguars do cover the spread. However, I think the Jaguars lose. I'm going to say the Jaguars lose 28-27, only because my rule is like until they do something to break something, I'm not going to predict them to break it. Like, look, right now the Jaguars are on a 7-game losing streak against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are defending Super Bowl champions. They just lost last week, so they're going to come in hungry. And you see all the different things. Doug Peterson's 0-3 against Andy Reid. So yeah, with all that said, I'm going to predict that the Jaguars lose 28-27, but they do cover the spread. And overall, I'm going to hope and pray that the Jaguars win this one because I want to be wrong so bad. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this video, of this game. I know it's a very, very long video, but I needed to go in depth for this one because it is one of the biggest games of our season. Get an early lead on the AFC, get a 2.5 game lead on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bengals, the Bills, all of them already have a loss. So it's time to, put our foot down and tell the NFL, hey, we're here. Thanks guys for watching. Drop a like for me on your way out. Go Jags.